raising your hand, telling me if there's something you want to add or ask about as I'm going through my talk, okay? Yeah, I think it would be a better talk that way. All right. So, I'm going to actually put it on you first. How were you using your memory back in 2010? Okay. What were you doing 6 years ago? Did you get that promotion you were aiming for? How about maybe you finishing some coursework? Did you get married? Congratulations. Yeah. What about raising children? Anybody? Can anyone share anything? What happened 6 years ago? Graduated high school. Nice. Made it on. You too. Wow. You look just like it. Perfect. Okay. Good. Anybody else? Anybody else?
I was working at
Health Tap. Okay. I'm not familiar with Health Tap. Oh, okay. Okay. Anybody raising children? 6 years ago? All right. All right. Shout out to the parents. All right. So we now just shared some memories, but what do those memories actually do for us? Well, memory is identity, right? You get to say, I am a parent. I am someone who worked for LTAP, I think you said, right? So you get to share who you are as a result of your memories, okay? So who was I? Well, back in 2010, I was UPenn, pre-med, finishing up, getting ready for the MCAT. Be very afraid, studying for the MCAT. I was trying to become a psychiatrist, actually, for children. I was working at Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, and I was going to be working in mood disorder research. And I was living pretty well, you know. I was in my mid-20s. Everything was going really well for me. All right? But then I lost my memory. I was hit by a car at that intersection here in Philadelphia on November 22nd, 2010. And there I am in the hospital bed. If we can play the hospital video, I'd like to do that. It must have been very difficult for them to see their firstborn son in the hospital like that about 8 days after the accident. Okay. So I wake up and we find out rather quickly that I have severe memory loss, severe episodic memory loss. Where am I? What happened? And I would wake up and there'd be a notepad next to me on the bed. You were hit by a car, you're in recovery right now, your parents will come visit you at 5 o'clock, you know, because I would wake up and I would actually not know every single time I woke up what had happened. All right? My memory has changed quite a bit since then. All right? It does improve after an injury like this. But that was the sense of my functioning at that time. Okay? And I wanted to write down my memory. Well, not literally. Oh, I'm trying to click. Is it not? There we go. I didn't want to literally write down my memory. They actually told me to write down my memory like a pen and paper. And I said, that's stupid, frankly. I mean, I have a cell phone. Why would I write down my memory? I can't search that. I can't use that. I could lose that. I'm going to run out of pages. Every single thing you could think of. And there are all these other ways I could think about, you know, recording my memory. I could use a device notepad. I could take pictures. I could use Facebook if I really wanted to share my personal memory with everybody in my Facebook world. No, thank you. So what did I do instead of writing down my memory? Well, I went ahead and I used a private Twitter account as my memory for years, okay? I was privately using Twitter, and I decided to use Twitter because I thought it functioned the way a lot of our own memories do. We care about what's happened more recently, and then that moves down, and we don't care as much about it. 2 weeks ago, we don't care about. Last week, we care more about. So we see more and more, what are we noting recently? And this was keeping track for me, you know, perfectly well. And I could update Twitter on my phone wherever I was going. Just giving you an idea of how some other people use Twitter. We see Leonard Nimoy. Sometimes people could be using Twitter seriously, talking about how life passes us by. Life is like a garden. We can only keep it in memory. And sometimes it can be funny. Barack Obama is telling us that indeed winter is coming. All right, for all of our Game of Thrones fans out here. Yeah. So I started getting some media attention, which I'll get into that. But what are some of the pros of using Twitter privately as a memory? Well, as I said, it can't be lost, unlike a notebook. Goes anywhere a mobile device can, and it doesn't run out of space, really. So when I started using Twitter to when I ended using Twitter, I had just shy of 30,000 entries, okay? If I went ahead and used the character limit for that, that would be over 4,100,000 characters in my digital memory, okay? That I can search instantly over now the entire time, all right? But there were, some issues with that as well. I did start getting a lot of media attention, though, for having an artificial memory. I thought this was funny with the Mensa article. I actually qualified for Mensa from the testing from my injury. And I thought it would be hilarious if they used the title that I wanted to use, which was How I Joined Mensa by Accident. Seeing as I never would have had my IQ tested if I didn't have this brain injury. But they said, no one joins Mensa by accident. And I'm like, okay, fine, my digital memory, okay. Just recently, I was on the cover of my college's magazine. And that picture in the upper left is not related to my memory, but it is, and I'll come back to it, okay? So, I can share some of the interviews that have happened since then. This was a local interview on Fox 29, and I'm hoping that the video file will work. I believe we can set that up now? Yes. Repeatedly is how people generally do not know what short-term memory is. Okay? Short-term memory is working memory. It's your ability to know what I'm talking about right now. What you did yesterday is not short-term memory. It's episodic memory. So very interesting to me how given that my background was in psychology before the injury, I took that for granted, and I found out rather quickly, even during this interview, that people just do not use that term, short-term memory, the way that people in psychology use it. So I thought that was a little interesting anecdote. That was locally. A bit after that, there was an interview for the doctors. And I'd share that with you as well, too, because that gets into a bit more detail. We started to hear my mention of memory, and I'll share how that's come along as well, if we can play this one. Did you notice how they even made the mistake of short-term memory at the bottom? They even called it short-term memory. So that was interesting to note. A common theme that I see, I think because it's in movies, is that people will ask me, do you fall asleep and then wake up and then it's gone? It seems to be a plot device for a lot of movies, and it's really not like that, as someone who experiences it personally. Yes?
Where does memory, in your experience, where does it transfer from short-term to episodic?
It's hard to know because short-term is meant for keeping track of what's happening right now. I'm keeping track of a lot of things right now, and also not. In that I'm looking around, I'm seeing the colors of what everyone's wearing. I don't really care. I'm not trying to remember that. So attending to something matters a lot if you're going to remember it or not. I'm not going to remember the colors of everyone's outfits today. I might remember things that are said, but just like you, I won't remember other aspects. So really it's how much effort you put into it and also how shocking it is, all sorts of other, answers to that. Let's see. So what has happened since then? Well, my life does continue. I did change my focus from being a psychiatrist to getting my master's of education, partly because of a patient safety risk with memory loss, concern about errors, and how med school requires so much memorization. I did show that photo before, and that is from the Burj Khalifa, the world's tallest building. I was in Dubai because I travel the world for New Year's Eve, celebrating New Year's Eve in a new country every year. And I got to see the fireworks when they set the world record. I'm still doing that, even with my injury. Getting those trips back was a huge part of my life. And my girlfriend, Lindsey Graham, and I are here climbing up a temple or pyramid in Mexico when she joined me for this past New Year's Eve. I'm still doing all this, yet I still do not remember my life organically. So what does that mean to you and to us if I can do all this without an organic memory? The state of technology that we have, how important is organic memory if we're able to do things like this without it? Okay? So internationally, I've gotten some media attention too. Apparently, that's how my name is written in Russian. because this was an article that they did for Esquire Russia. I thought this was kind of a cool illustration, the brain as a tree and the cloudy, foggy memories and the Twitter helping with that. So, but what were some of the limitations of my use of Twitter? Well, we see it's not the easiest to learn socially, perhaps, for some people, and that maybe older generations may gravitate towards Facebook instead. Socially as well, Twitter can be a bit of an echo chamber, right? You're only going to hear from people who feel like you. You're going to follow people who think the way you do, share the way you do, not so much the other way around, you know? But specifically with how I was using Twitter as my memory, what were some of the limitations? Well, we have the 140 character limit. It could not be searched while I'm walking around, and stories of it being hacked for some users. So I needed something that was going to work more specifically for me. And that is my app, Memory. And it's currently at yourdigitalmemory.com, and it's working on the iPhone right now. We're going to be having the Android version coming out in the near future. Memory functions just like a fully searchable, as I'm saying, artificial memory. I'm able to pull it up and search by date or by text, all of it. So from the end of 2010 until now, I technically have a superhuman memory now as a result. If anybody wants to try this, come grab me after the talk. I'll be glad to share this with you, okay? And I did say that was a neologism, highly intentional. The focus is on the individual, me, Marie. It's not a social media app, okay? And here is our development team. I'm not a programmer. I'm the ideas guy, but we see here Jump Button Studio, all of the programmers I'm working with. Specifically Nicodemus, very talented young man, just finishing up a high school even. And just incredible work we've been doing together. So I was sharing more about this online, and then DirecTV actually found me and the doctor's interview, and they decided to interview me for a documentary that just aired on national television. So I'd like to play this clip for you. I'm really happy with how this turned out. I did share that little bit towards the end because I wanted you to get a sense of how some people maybe think or feel about this idea of artificial memory. Trepidatious, perhaps. Are they nervous? Are they excited? The potential, the fear of the potential, too. I did want to put all that in there. Okay. Almost forgot this. Let's see. Okay. So my relationship with technology, interestingly, I actually feel that I'm using it less often than a lot of people when I'm walking around. I'm seeing people with their phones in their hands. I'm so aware of my use of technology that I also put it down. I put it away so that I can stop using it. So that can be interesting. I am advocating for a purposeful use of this technology, not, meandering, not just flittering away time, perhaps, but I'm using it highly purposefully and also responsibly. My memory is private, and I share that with people that I am recording my memory. Yeah. I want you to now think about our relationship with technology, though, not my relationship with technology, okay? This was from the documentary, and we're now seeing that the internet itself and these phones that we're using are external hard drives for ourselves. These statistics surprised me. 2014, more mobile phones than people on Earth, more mobile devices. And we're seeing about a third of the global population in social media. And how many minutes are being used on social media in North America alone? 121.8 billion. I'm assuming that's in a given year. Okay, so what is next? Well, this discussion of digital natives, people who've grown up with this technology, it's going to continue. And we're seeing actually micro-generations within these digital natives moving on to new apps, new services as various apps are being developed and pitfalls are explored or examined. And still an ongoing discussion of responsible usage of this technology. Okay? I want to say, don't worry about it. Okay, let's think responsibly. Let's think what we want from our technology and then use it for that purpose. If it isn't being used for a purpose that we want, try to move on from it. Give ourselves the time to reflect on our use of technology and also to live thoughtfully. So in conclusion, my example I think is one of adaptability. I went through a stage-wise process. Why would I write down my memory? I want to use Twitter instead. I need more than Twitter provides me. I want to create an app called Memory. We're now fine-tuning the features, and it's available for iPhone, going to be for Android. We're now going to see what people want from it, and new features are being added, like memories by location and further statistics. So that's it. I'm welcoming your questions, your thoughts. I'm able to stick around. I'm glad for a discussion on these topics. And I want to say thank you for sticking around for my talk. Yeah. And I will demonstrate Memory to anybody who wants to talk to me, because I have it on my phone, so I'll be glad to share. Yes?
First of all, thanks for sharing the story. It's really incredible story. Are you seeing, or you have some, maybe have interest with the technology for folks that have not only traumatic brain injury, but like Alzheimer's?
Uh-huh. I am absolutely interested, and I've made this as straightforward of a release as an app as it could be, as you'll see if you want to try it out with me. We are seeing, and we talked a bit earlier about the stodginess of certain healthcare industries, certain professions, and not picking up this technology. When I said I went through Moss Rehabilitation, and they did a good job of letting me do what I wanted to do when I said I wanted to have an artificial memory. They were still telling people to write things down. And I said, okay, well, I want to have an artificial memory. And they said, you seem like you know what you're doing, go for it. So we do need to see this adaptability by other healthcare providers. Maybe we see one or more, and there's a domino effect, and that'll continue.
So, the current app, assuming it works, you write it, you type it.
Or talk to text. It does talk as well, yeah.
And I'm assuming, or I don't know if you're going to do it, or if you already start thinking about it, like where you have some connectivity to things like Facebook and Twitter, because a lot of the things that people post online during the time of excitement, watching sporting event, is on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram. So then, would your app then be able to grab those memories as well from those applications as well, feed it into the overall like larger memory?
I would consider a possibility of cross-posting, say if that person wanted to share it in Memory and on Facebook. Again, I'm calling it Memory with the focus being on the individual. So don't want to get other people's memories, quote unquote, in your own memory, I guess. But that is a possibility that I would consider as well. So yes, and we're going to see what users are asking, what features they're asking for as that's coming along. Okay. Yes?
Great story again. Pretty amazing.
Thank you.
One thing you mentioned that I think came up in my mind a few times was kind of security and privacy. Even when you were on Twitter, which was a private account,
Yeah.
one of your concerns were that people can hack into that. So I was thinking, from a consumer standpoint, or business standpoint, someone who has private memories that might not want ever leak in the cloud. How do you address that privacy and security issue?
Well, we do admit that we want to keep that security foremost in our minds, and yet we also have that idea of utility. People are still using email even as they think about security concerns, and they're sharing some rather salacious details depending on which email account we're talking about, So it is a mixture of that, and do people feel secure enough, safe enough doing it? And we need to work on that for that very reason. That creating the feeling of it and also creating the reality objectively of how safe it is. I'm there with you on that.
Have you ever deleted a memory that you put in while you're fighting out with your girlfriend and you felt some pretty mean shit?
Yeah, well, thank you for asking. I actually tell people that my memory is literally only as good as I make it. So do I want to remember these fights or not? Probably might have some use down the line. I've only deleted a memory if it was accidentally posted twice. That's the only instance I think I've deleted anything. Okay. Any other question? Sorry. Yeah, actually, that's what we're looking for. We're looking for a release of this app, and right now, people can beta test it. So if you have an iPhone, I'm currently using it on iPhone. The Android version is going to be released soon, And we are actually right now moving in that direction. So feel free to talk to me. If we email, I'll give your email to the developer, and we can move in that direction.
So Tom, I think I interpreted that question as, do you feel that this is targeting people that have some kind of memory problem, or just for folks like, I probably forget plenty of stuff too.
Gotcha. People will say to me, so this is an app for people with memory loss, right? And I'll say to them, you mean you? Because we all have severe memory loss, okay? The spectrum moves if we talk about how severe, but all of us do not remember the overwhelming majority of our lives, okay? What did you eat today for lunch last year? Okay, I actually know that. Does that actually matter or not? Maybe it does. Maybe I actually want to be a healthier person and I want to check out my diet habits from a year ago, okay? Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. I want to give people this possibility of a powerful tool, which is an artificial memory.
Yeah, I used to feel like I had a memory of an elephant.
Uh-huh.
I don't even know what that means because I forgot.
Well, I thought an elephant never forgets, right? Is that what it is?
But I'm realizing now, getting older and having kids running around,
Mhm.
complexity, it's difficult to remember everything.
Mhm.
I think this would be something I definitely leverage, especially in the business world. So
Yeah. I think memory, I position it on a trajectory of how we are all making use of technology and our memories. We don't remember the overwhelming majority of phone numbers because we don't need to. Our device does. All right, we can keep track of people socially with Facebook and other apps, okay? I think this is on a trajectory towards greater comfort, acceptance, and utility of artificial memory. Yes?
I find it really interesting because I know my mom actually, she gets frustrated with me because I claim to remember things when in fact it's just because my grandmother has my entire childhood on video. So what I say is a memory, like, oh, I remember that. They're like, listen, we're 18 months old. You don't remember that. It's
Uh-huh.
the video you watched.
Uh-huh.
So, and that's kind of frustrating to think that do you ever get frustrated, like, in saying I remember because is it remembering?
Uh-huh.
Or is it just, not just, I don't want to say just.
Mhm.
Is it that you just know because you logged in? You know what I mean?
Mhm,
Is that still frustrating for you?
Sure. Well, I will say I've had some time to adapt to my situation in particular. So I'm no longer frustrated by it, given how long it's been, you know? I also am grateful from coming from a psych neuro background from before my injury and awareness already that when you actually remember something, you don't just remember something. You actually recreate your memory in that moment, and you may very well alter the memory that you have based on your more recent experiences. So it's always a mixture of pulling from and bringing together when we have our memories. So it's an active process, and it could be hard to say exactly, is this as you remembered it?
Right.
Yeah. Yes?
With this, you're recording intentional memories that
Mhm.
you intentionally want to record.
Mhm.
Do you have any thoughts or ideas of incorporating something that would be a little less intentional, perhaps conversations,
Mhm.
things of that nature
Mhm.
that you could then document
Mhm.
to be able to go back to at a later date?
Well, that is what I am doing, I think, what you're asking. I'm having conversations with people, I am talking, and then I'm deciding what to remember, and I am making notes as I'm going throughout my day.
Exactly, you're
Yeah.
deciding what to remember.
Right.
Whereas I'm asking about, there are some things that we just naturally remember.
Oh, you're asking if it will...
Decide to remember.
Gotcha. You're asking if it's going to pull from... Well, I'd be interested to know if there's a way to pull from physical experience to create a memory inside of an app. We currently don't have that type of technology, I think, to create a memory for us. I would be interested in that.
Recording conversations, right?
Oh, yeah.
And it would just transcribe that natural conversation that then you would have.
Uh-huh. Well, okay. Well, yes, it does have talk to text currently, so that is one possibility that we could be having a conversation and recording it as the conversation goes along. You know, it's talk to text is still evolving, so we'd have to like edit it. But yeah, that is something that does happen. And I do also use my email as a type of memory when I have those exchanges back and forth with people. Yeah.
Do you think doing this has improved your memory?
I'll say that the typical recovery window for an injury like I had is 6 months to 2 years, and I'm now over 5 years post-accident. So my memory's probably what it is going to be organically, and I'm okay with that, because when we say does it improve my memory, well, look at what has happened. I've invented a memory app. I've earned my Master's of Education entirely after my brain injury. It's working, whatever it is. I would say improved. That's why I make the distinction between organic and inorganic. And I consider it a relatively moot point. If I'm walking around with this, like all of us are, how compromised is my memory if we think about it in terms of this too? Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you everyone for coming.